What if your beautiful garden is hiding a silent killer, slowly poisoning the very soil it grows in? We're not talking about pesticides, but something far more insidious, an unseen microbial war raging beneath your feet. As gardeners, we pour our hearts into creating thriving spaces, yet many of us unknowingly introduce substances that wage chemical warfare against the microscopic allies our plants desperately need. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden threats lurking in your garden and how they're silently sabotaging the intricate web of soil life that makes abundant harvests possible. The truth is, your soil is alive, teeming with billions of microorganisms working around the clock to feed your plants, protect them from disease, and create the perfect growing environment. But this delicate ecosystem is under constant assault from sources you'd never suspect. From that innocent-looking fertilizer bag to the water flowing from your hose, common garden inputs can become toxic weapons against the very microbes your garden depends on for survival. Your garden soil hosts an underground metropolis more complex than any city on Earth. In just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there are more microorganisms than there are people on our planet. These microscopic inhabitants include bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and countless other creatures working in perfect harmony to create what we call the soil food web. Yet, this thriving community faces daily threats from substances we innocently introduce, believing we're helping our gardens thrive. Consider the synthetic fertilizers lining garden center shelves. These concentrated chemical concoctions promise immediate results, and they often deliver, at first. However, these high-salt formulations create an osmotic shock that draws moisture from microbial cells, literally dehydrating the beneficial organisms that naturally provide nutrients to your plants. The nitrogen in these fertilizers often comes in forms that bypass the natural nutrient cycling process, making plants dependent on artificial feeding while the soil microbes responsible for natural nutrient delivery gradually starve and die. Even more insidious is the chlorine and chloramines present in most municipal tap water. Every time you water your garden with untreated tap water, you're essentially dosing your soil with antibacterial agents designed to kill microorganisms. While these chemicals protect us from waterborne pathogens, they make no distinction between harmful bacteria in drinking water and the beneficial bacteria essential for plant health. Over time, this constant exposure weakens and destroys the microbial communities your garden depends on. Fungicides present another hidden threat that extends far beyond their intended targets. Many gardeners apply these treatments to prevent plant diseases, unaware that they're simultaneously destroying mycorrhizal fungi, the beneficial organisms that form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, extending their reach and dramatically improving nutrient and water uptake. A single fungicide application can set back mycorrhizal colonization by months or even years, leaving plants vulnerable and struggling to access the resources they need. To understand the true impact of these hidden poisons, we need to explore the fascinating world of soil microorganisms and their crucial roles in plant health. Mycorrhizal fungi, often called the Internet of the Forest, create vast underground networks connecting plant roots to nutrients and water far beyond their natural reach. These fungal threads, called hyphae, are finer than the smallest root hairs and can extend the effective surface area of a plant's root system by up to 1,000 times. When fungicides or other toxic substances damage these networks, plants suddenly find themselves isolated and struggling. The symptoms might not appear immediately, but over time, you'll notice reduced growth, increased susceptibility to drought stress, and plants that seem to require more and more fertilizer just to maintain basic health. The invisible highway system that once delivered nutrients efficiently has been severed, forcing plants to rely solely on their limited root systems. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria represent another critical group under threat. These remarkable organisms, primarily found in the root nodules of legumes but also present throughout healthy soil, have the unique ability to convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms plants can use. This natural nitrogen factory operates freely when soil conditions are right, but synthetic fertilizers high in readily available nitrogen actually signal these bacteria to shut down their nitrogen-fixing activity. The soil biology responds by reducing its own nitrogen production, creating a dependency cycle where more and more artificial nitrogen is needed to maintain plant health. The disruption extends throughout the entire soil food web. Beneficial bacteria that normally suppress plant pathogens find themselves overwhelmed by chemical stress, unable to maintain the protective biofilms that shield plant roots from disease. Soil protozoa, which play a crucial role in nutrient cycling by consuming bacteria and releasing nutrients in plant-available forms, suffer population crashes when exposed to certain chemical inputs. This breakdown in natural nutrient cycling creates a cascade effect that, honestly, reverberates through every level of the soil ecosystem. The unseen fallout of microbial loss puts plant health in real peril. The destruction of soil microbial communities, well, it often shows up in ways that gardeners might misinterpret as totally different problems. Plants growing in soil that's depleted of microbes tend to show symptoms that look a lot like nutrient deficiencies, pest issues, or even just environmental stress. For instance, yellowing leaves might make you think you need to add more fertilizer, when, honestly, the real issue is that those important microorganisms, the ones that make soil nutrients available, just aren't there anymore. Stunted root development is actually one of the earliest signs of microbial disruption, though. It's rarely visible unless you actually dig up a plant. Healthy soil microbes produce plant hormones and all sorts of growth-promoting substances that encourage robust root development. Without these biological partners, root systems end up shallow and poorly developed, leaving plants vulnerable to drought stress and unable to access nutrients beyond, well, their immediate vicinity. Disease susceptibility ramps up dramatically in microbiologically compromised soil. Beneficial microorganisms usually create a protective barrier around plant roots, competing with pathogens for space and resources, and even producing natural antibiotics and other protective compounds. But when this biological shield is weakened or destroyed, opportunistic pathogens move in fast, leading to root rots, wilts, and other soil-borne diseases that, honestly, can seem to appear out of nowhere. Perhaps most frustrating for gardeners is the phenomenon of decreasing yields despite increasing inputs. As soil biology declines, plants become increasingly dependent on artificial fertilizers and other inputs just to maintain basic function. What once thrived with minimal intervention now requires constant feeding, watering, and protection. This creates a downward spiral where, each intervention further damages the soil ecosystem, requiring even more intensive management just to achieve, diminishing returns. Detective work identifying your hidden threats. Becoming a soil health detective means developing an eye for the subtle signs of microbial distress and, honestly, learning to trace problems back to their sources. Start by examining your current gardening practices with fresh eyes, looking for potential sources of microbial harm that you might have overlooked. That weekly fertilizer application, while well-intentioned, could actually be gradually sterilizing your soil if you're using synthetic products with high salt indices. Water quality deserves special attention in your detective work. Municipal water treatment systems use chlorine or chloramines specifically to kill microorganisms, and while this protects human health, it devastates soil life. Test your water's chlorine levels with a simple pool testing kit, and pay attention to how your plants respond after watering. If you notice that plants seem to struggle or, show stress shortly after watering, chlorinated water might actually be the culprit. So it's really important to examine your soil amendments and fertilizers with a critical eye. Products labeled as complete or balanced often contain chemical preservatives, synthetic nutrients in forms that bypass natural soil processes, or pH adjusters that create dramatic shifts in soil chemistry. And, even organic fertilizers can cause problems if they're too concentrated or processed in ways that make them immediately available, short-circuiting the natural processes that feed soil microorganisms. Look for visual clues in your garden that point to microbial imbalances. Healthy, biologically active soil should have visible fungal growth, white, thread-like mycelia that appear after watering or during humid conditions. If your soil never shows these signs of fungal activity, despite adequate moisture and organic matter, it may indicate fungal populations have been suppressed. Earthworms serve as another biological indicator. Their presence suggests active soil biology, while their absence often signals chemical stress or microbial disruption. Restoring the balance and nurturing your soil's unseen allies really takes some patience and, honestly, a fundamental shift in gardening philosophy from managing plants to nurturing soil life. The most effective approach involves reducing harmful inputs while simultaneously providing food and habitat for beneficial microorganisms. This process takes time. Soil biology operates on natural timescales that don't always align with our desire for immediate results, but the long-term benefits far exceed the temporary adjustment period. Organic matter becomes your most powerful tool for microbial restoration. Compost leaf mold and other decomposed organic materials provide both food for soil microorganisms and physical structure that creates the air pockets and water-holding capacity these organisms need to thrive. However, not all organic matter is created equal. Fresh, high-nitrogen materials like grass clippings can actually harm soil biology if applied in thick layers, as they decompose so rapidly that they consume oxygen and create anaerobic conditions hostile to beneficial organisms. Cover cropping represents, honestly, one of the most effective strategies for rebuilding soil microbial diversity. Living roots continuously feed soil microorganisms through root exudates, the sugars and other compounds plants release into the surrounding soil. Different plant species support different microbial communities, so diverse cover crop mixtures create the most robust soil food webs. Even in established garden beds, you can incorporate this principle by maintaining living roots year-round through succession planting and allowing some areas to host beneficial weeds during off-seasons. Water management plays a crucial role in microbial restoration. Dechlorinating your water is essential. This can be accomplished by letting water sit in open containers for 24 hours to allow chlorine to evaporate, or by using activated carbon filters for more immediate results. Chloramines require longer evaporation times or specific filtration systems designed to remove them. Additionally, focus on maintaining consistent soil moisture levels, rather than alternating between very wet and very dry conditions, as extreme fluctuations stress microbial populations. Introducing beneficial microorganisms directly can accelerate the restoration process, though this should supplement, not replace, the fundamental changes in soil management practices. Mycorrhizal inoculants can help re-establish fungal networks, particularly in areas where soil has been severely disrupted. Compost teas, when properly made, provide diverse microbial communities along with the nutrients they need to establish themselves in your soil. However, these biological additions will only succeed in an environment that supports their continued growth and reproduction. The transformation from chemically dependent gardening to biologically based soil management, well, it really requires faith in natural processes and a willingness to observe and adapt rather than trying to control and dominate. As microbial populations recover, you'll start to notice gradual improvements in plant health, resilience, and productivity. Plants will develop stronger root systems, show improved disease resistance, and honestly, they'll require fewer external inputs to thrive. Most importantly, your soil will become increasingly self-sustaining, developing its own natural fertility and pest management systems. Your journey towards soil health represents more than just better gardening. It's, in a way, a partnership with the invisible world that makes all terrestrial life possible. Every decision you make either supports or undermines the complex web of relationships that sustain your garden's productivity and resilience. By choosing to nurture soil life rather than merely feed plants, you become part of a growing movement of gardeners who truly understand that the health of our gardens reflects the health of our planet. The path forward really does require commitment to learning and adaptation, but the rewards extend far beyond individual garden success. Healthy soil sequesters carbon, filters water, supports biodiversity, and creates resilient food production systems that can withstand environmental challenges. Your choice to protect and restore soil microbial communities contributes to these larger environmental benefits, while also creating a more productive, sustainable, and enjoyable gardening experience. Remember that this transformation is a process, not a destination. Soil biology, responds to consistent, thoughtful management over time, And every small step towards supporting microbial life moves your garden closer to the self-sustaining ecosystem it has the potential to become. Trust in the wisdom of natural systems, maintain patience with biological timescales, and celebrate the small victories as your soil comes alive with the invisible partners that make abundant gardens possible. If this deep dive into the hidden world of soil microorganisms has opened your eyes to the invisible battles happening in your garden, make sure to subscribe to the Living Soil Lab for more insights into building truly sustainable, biologically vibrant growing systems. Share this guide with fellow gardeners who are ready to discover the secret life beneath their feet. Together, we can create a community of soil stewards committed to nurturing the foundation of all garden life. Your soil microbes will thank you, and your plants will show their gratitude with unprecedented health and productivity.